If you want to understand why men feel insecure in marriage, there are many reasons why, but I'm going to explain to you from an existential perspective. When I say existential, what I mean is it has nothing to do with particular circumstances or conditions, which are always in flux and changing in every different situation. What I'm talking about is something existential, something that is basically a constant. It's almost unavoidable unless you know how to maneuver around it. And that's why it's important to know it. And here it is. It's the basic masculine-feminine dynamic, which requires understanding these paradigms. And I'm going to try to make it very, very simple. Masculine and feminine, we associate those with gender, with male, with female. The reality is they exist as archetypes, as purely spiritual ideas in the higher worlds before they even devolve and come down here as man and woman as we know it. And in the spiritual realm, masculine and feminine actually is giver and recipient. Now, I know that's very triggering because people say, well, hold on, they try to work it out. So masculine is giver and feminine is recipient, and that's like a dirty word. Recipient, that means like I'm the loser. I'm the one who doesn't have. I'm standing around. I'm waiting for the giver to give me. You know, I'm the one. I'm the dole. I have to wait around to get a handout. So stop right there. If you're feeling triggered, then you have to listen to the rest of the explanation, because giver and recipient in spiritual terms doesn't mean a giver and a taker. Femininity is not a taker at all. To the contrary, it's the opposite of a taker. It's a true recipient. A true recipient means not only one who doesn't take, meaning to say it doesn't take what's not given. It receives what is freely given, but much more than that, and this is the important part to understand. When it receives what it receives, it absorbs it, integrates it, reprocesses it, and makes something of greater value than what it received. Infinite upgrade. Okay, and that's every masculine, feminine relationship. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. It has nothing to do with gender at all, just so you catch the flow here. Teacher-student. So, teacher is the giver, student is the recipient. So, if you only look at half of that, you say, oh, so the teacher's clearly in the dominant position, and the student is in the passive or receptive position. But you have to understand something. You know, our sages say, I've learned much from my teachers, even more from my colleagues, but from my students, I learned most of all. A teacher learns things from students that cannot be learned from anyone else. A real student, I'm saying not just someone who's sitting there, you know, writing notes because they want to like pass a test at the end of the semester. A real student who challenges you and wants to understand you and forces you to explain yourself properly such a student will cause the teacher to understand the subject better than they understood it before. And what ends up happening is the teacher only becomes a master through this sort of rebound, through the reciprocal energy that can only be brought out by a true student. Okay, so that's an example of what we really mean by giver and recipient. The recipient is not passive at all. The recipient actually catalyzes an upgrade, all right? I'll give you another example. The rich man and the poor man, okay? So if you look at it in a very superficial way, oh, so clearly the rich man is dominant, the poor man is passive. It's not true, because the rich man is giving the poor man money. The poor man is giving the rich man a mitzvah, the opportunity to fulfill a divine commandment. So the money has a finite value, even if he gives him $1 million. The mitzvah, the divine commandment, has infinite value. It's priceless. Okay, so just understand that. Now, let's talk about it in terms of gender, masculine and feminine in terms of gender. So the obvious example is biological reproduction. The man gives this little packet of DNA to the woman. She takes that, it gestates, and eventually she gives birth to something that is incomparably greater than the little cell that he gave her, right? Incomparably greater. It's a child with a personality and a name and a smile. Infinite upgrade. That's an obvious example. But let's talk about it in more like ethereal terms, more abstract terms, because it's not just biological reproduction, also it's emotional energy. When a man will give emotional energy to a woman, meaning he gives her his focus, his time, his attention, she takes that if it's given sensitively and caringly and carefully, she takes that energy. She becomes, so to speak, emotionally impregnated with that energy. And then she ends up processing it and giving birth to enough positive energy to fill the home. Man does not and cannot fill a home with positive energy, but he can fill his wife with that positive energy. And then she turns around and exudes enough positive energy to make the home a warm, loving, safe place for everyone. Okay, so now you understand the giver, the recipient. All right, so here's the deal. Once you understand giver, recipient properly, you understand that not only is the recipient not passive, but the recipient is also a giver. And in fact, the recipient is an even bigger giver than the giver. That's why men feel insecure. Because whether they know it or they don't know it, but intuitively, subconsciously, there's a certain awareness that ultimately my whole identity as the masculine party to this relationship is that I'm a giver. And yet anything I give her, properly give her, she will turn around and give it back in upgraded fashion, so she's a bigger giver. If my whole definition, my whole identity is being a giver, but she's a bigger giver, so then what am I? The one thing in which I distinguish myself, she outshines me. So that's the core, the existential source, like I said, of masculine insecurity. All right. So, and you understand why I say existential, because this is true in every situation. Like, there are situations where a man is insecure, but not because he's insecure as a man. He's just an insecure person. You know, someone who's egotistical or petty, and he feels, jealous. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that, irregardless of the individual personalities of the man or of the woman, irregardless of the situation they may find themselves in, this is a constant. It's just a truth. It's unavoidable. That's why I call it an existential truth. Okay. So then what can be done to avoid this? So here's the thing. A man has to understand that actually his value and what makes him indispensable is not that he's a giver. Even though I just got through saying masculinity is the giver and femininity is the recipient. We already established that femininity's type of being a recipient is an even greater giver than the giver. The unique value of masculinity is not that he's a giver, because she's a bigger giver. The unique value of masculinity is that he gives first. He's an initiator. He's an initiator. To the extent that if he does not initiate the process, she can do nothing. She cannot give that infinite upgrade. She can do nothing. There's a question in the Talmud, the sages say, when the poor man comes to the house and asks for a loaf of bread, and the woman of the house is home and she gives the poor man a loaf of bread, who is more charitable? The man who went out, we're talking about, traditional gender roles here. Trigger warning. The man who went out and made the money and went to the market and bought the flour and brought home the sack of flour to his wife? Or the woman who took the flour and kneaded it with water, made it into dough, put it in the fire of the oven and baked it into bread? So the Talmud says that it's the woman, because you can't eat flour. Now, by the same token, you can't make bread without flour. But the bottom line is that which has value, actual value, not potential value, but actual value, is the bread. You can't eat flour. By the way, you could, God forbid, die of malnutrition by eating flour. The same flour that if you mix it with water and fire, it's an interesting concept, that flour itself has no nutritional value because you can't metabolize it. But then you mix it with water and fire, which have zero nutritional value. Water has no nutritional value. Water is to move the nutrients around, but water has no nutrients. And fire has no nutrients. But you mix the flour with the water and the fire, which have no nutrients, and now the body can absorb the nutrients from the flour as bread. At any rate, the point is this. What she does has much more value, incomparably more value, because the poor man can't eat flour, he eats bread. But, and here's what you have to understand, men, she can't make bread if he doesn't bring home the flour. And you're going to say, this is very boring. Who's baking bread over here? I go to the store, I buy a loaf of bread. It's a metaphor. Talk about emotional energy. she delivers something that's of much more usefulness than what he delivers. He's abstraction. She's practicality, concrete, like actually running a home. But, and here's what you have to understand, men and women, you have to understand this, that if the man doesn't bring it in the first place, if he doesn't initiate, if he doesn't make that opening move, then she's got nothing to work with. She's got no more raw materials to work with. So she's just, what am I supposed to do over here? So men have to understand your primary value in the marriage, in the masculine-feminine relationship, is as the initiator, as making the first move. Now, conversely, I want to say to women, please be smart. Please don't be dumb. The dumbest thing a woman can do is shut down her man's opening move, because when he's trying to bring it, when he's trying to initiate, if you, kind of wrinkle your nose at it, he'll shut down, because no man is going to put himself out there and be humiliated. He'll just shut it down and, either give somewhere else where he feels that what he's giving is appreciated, or just not give and just, shut down. But the main thing men have to understand, initiate. Initiate can be something so small. I spoke about this in another place, and a bunch of women got mad, and they were commenting, "You're teaching men how to breadcrumb." I never knew that term before. It's a verb, breadcrumb, breadcrumbing, like giving your wife just a tiny amount. You know what? You want to be triggered, go ahead. Or you want to learn something, I'm inviting you for an opportunity to learn something, okay? I'm not telling men to breadcrumb. I'm not telling men, figure out the bare minimum amount of attention you can get away with giving your wife, right? That's not what I'm saying, God forbid. What I'm saying to men is I'm encouraging men and women, if you want to judge this, you can judge this, but you're not helping yourself by jumping down my throat and telling me that I shouldn't give this advice to men when this actually improves marriages. That men often think it's too much of a tall order. I can't bring it. I don't have enough energy. They get intimidated before they even start. Men have to know it's actually not that much of a tall order. Just give her attention. Just ask her how her day was and actually listen and care. And you don't even have to offer any answers or solutions to her problems. Just listen until she feels truly heard. And then you want to know something? That investment that you made, and people got mad at me when I used this in another place. Oh, you're making it transactional. I'm not making it transactional. This is not a business. This is building a home together. Okay? An investment doesn't have to be transactional. If you plant the tree for future generations that you're never going to eat from, that's also an investment. You take the seed, you put it in the ground, and you wait for something much bigger to come back much later. That's also an investment. The word investment is not inherently a dirty word. At any rate, if men make that emotional investment, a true one, not manipulative, not as a strategy, but truly, 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 make that opening move. When you come through the door, focus on her, ask her how her day was, bring her a tea or a cold seltzer, whatever she enjoys, tell her to put her feet up and just listen to her. That investment that you're making is going to come back into your home in an upgraded fashion, which you as a man can never muster on your own. It's impossible. Just like you as the man can't get pregnant and have the babies, even if you want to. Okay? So this is an emotional pregnancy. It's pregnancy with emotional energy. So men, please understand your primary value and what makes you unique and what will always make you indispensable is your ability to initiate. Initiating means walk through the door, and instead of trying to get from her, trying to get attention, trying to get validation, resist that desire and just give and just give. Give and give and give. I promise you that what you will build together when you take initiative is far greater than what either of you could build on your own. Hey there, I hope you're enjoying this content. We are amazingly, thank God, we are reaching 10 million people a month across all platforms, changing lives, bringing wisdom, clarity, and light to people all over the world. It takes a lot of work to make this happen. We are in the middle of our annual fundraising campaign. If you would like to partner with us in changing lives, if what we've given you has given value to you and you'd like to share that value with others, please consider making any donation, even $1. It just shows that you're a partner, that you want to be part of this. Thank you so much. Blessings to you and yours.